Okay, in this mini lesson, we are reviewing two variable linear inequalities and also systems of linear inequalities. And so, quick reminder that if you have a line underneath your inequality, it's a solid line. If you do not have the line, it's dotted. The other thing you need to remember is that if you have greater thans, whether it has a line or not, you shade above. And if you have less than signs, whether there's a line or not, you're going to shade below. Okay, so for this first problem, it says the graph below represents what inequality? So first of all, it is a solid line. So I'm looking for an inequality with a line underneath it. That narrows it down to B and D. A will not work and C will not work because they don't have the line under it. The next thing I notice is that if I put my pen on a point, all the shading is below it. And so I know I need a less than sign. And so that doesn't narrow it down. Both of these have a less than sign, less than or equal to. So now we have to actually write the equation of the line. One has a slope of 2x, the other has a slope of negative 1/2 x. And so I know the slope is negative because it's decreasing. Okay, and so I want the negative slope, so this is option D. And you can verify that the slope is down 1/2, down 1/2 each time for a slope of negative 1/2. Okay, for this next one, it is a dotted line, and none of these inequalities have a line, so we can't really narrow it down there. But we can narrow it down by the fact that the shading is below. If you put your pen on a point, you have to draw down arrows. And so B will not work because it has a greater than, and D will not work because it has a greater than. We want below. So now we just need to figure out, do we have a slope of 1/2 x or a slope of 2x? And so starting at 0, we went up 2 over 1, up 2 over 1, up 2 over 1. So that is the slope of 2. So C would be our answer. Okay, so now we have a system. That means we have two inequalities on one graph. And so focus on one at a time. Okay, oh, looks like I lost some answer choices. So we just have these three choices. Okay, and so I'm going to start with this dotted line here. Okay, it has a slope of -4, not a slope, a y-intercept, I'm sorry. A y-intercept of -4, and then a slope, looks like we're going up 2 over 1, up 2 over 1. Okay, and then if you put your pen on any point, you are pointing up, so we need a greater than sign, and we are not going to draw the line because it's dotted. And so I'm looking for the inequality. I don't even look at my choices until I've written it myself, because sometimes they have really good distractors over here, so don't even look until you write it. Okay, so I'm going to cross off any choice that doesn't have this. So here we've got y is greater than 2x minus 4. Here they've put greater than or equal to, so C will not work. And here they don't even have it. So just by writing that one equation, we can narrow it down to B. But let's double check and make sure that this is in fact our other inequality. So for the solid line, we have a y-intercept of -1. So I'm going to go ahead and write down that. And it looks like we are going up 1 unit over 2 units, up 1 over 2. So rise over run is 1 over 2. It is a solid line, and then if I put my pen on any of these points, we have to shade below. So we want below, making an L. Okay, so whenever I write below, I like to use the less than sign because it looks like an L, and it reminds me less than is below. Okay, and so y is less than or equal to 1/2 minus x minus 1. That's exactly what they have here. Okay. So here, this time they're not giving us the graph, they're giving us the equation. And so whenever they give you an inequality, you need to solve it for y. Okay, that means isolate y. And so the first thing you want to do is, I'm going to rewrite it so that you can see it bigger. Keep track of the inequality because it flips if you divide by a negative. And so the first thing you want to do is move the x term to the other side. And so we are going to do the opposite. So minus 3x minus 3x. It's gone. So my new inequality has this negative 4y. Don't lose your negative. And then we have the 8 minus 3x. The next step is to divide by that negative 4. And as soon as you write that divide by negative, flip, because I am dividing by a negative. You have to divide everything by that negative 4. Okay, so now we just have y. 8 divided by negative 4 is negative 2. And then negative 3 divided by a negative 4 is positive 3/4 x. Okay, and so to graph this, we would start at the negative 2. Well, I'm going to put it in slope-intercept form. And so the x term, the positive 3/4 x, followed by the negative 2. And so our y-intercept is negative 2. And then we are rising 3, running 4. Rising 3, running 4. So 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 4. Rising 3, run 1, 2, 3, 4. Put as many points on the graph as you can. So down 3, back 4. Down 3, back 4. Now, because there is a line, I do want to draw the line through these points. Okay, and then it's a less than, so it's below. And so draw your arrow down and just do some light shading. Okay, so now we can see if any of these points are solutions. So let's start with this 0, negative 2. It falls on a solid line, so yes. If it was a dotted line, no. But if it lands on a solid line next to the shaded region, it's good. 0, 0. Let's use this one. Let's use green. Okay, 0, 0. Does not fall in the shaded region, so no. 2, 1. Does not fall in the shaded region. And then 4, negative 3, right there, definitely yes. Okay, another thing you can do with any of these points is you can plug them into the inequality and see if they satisfy the inequality. So starting with the original inequality, 3x minus 4y is greater than or equal to 8. I can point test, let's point test 2, 1. So x is 2, y is 1. 3 times 2 is 6. 4 times 1 is 4. 6 minus 4 is 2. 2 is not greater than or equal to 8. And so since that is false, that corresponds to why we have no as our solution. So if you wanted to skip the graph, you can point test all of these instead, just like I did here. Sometimes that's easier for me. Okay, so it says graph the inequality below and determine which of the points is the solution. Okay, and so I'm going to graph it just to review that one more time. So first thing I have to do is move the 2x to the other side. And so that leaves me with 4y is less than, don't lose your alligator, 8 minus the 2x. Next, we divide by the 4. Since I am dividing by a positive 4, do not flip the inequality. 8 divided by 4 is 2. Negative 2 divided by 4 is negative 1/2. And so in slope-intercept form, I would have the negative 1/2 x out front plus the 2. So y-intercept is 2. Rise, well, our slope is negative 1/2, and so you want to go down 1 over 2. Down 1 over 2, down 1 over 2, down 1, 2, up 1, back 2. Anytime you have a negative slope, you want to make sure your line is decreasing. Okay, and I'm going to leave it dotted since there is no line underneath the inequality. And then this less than sign means below. So I want to shade below all of these points. So we're looking to see if these points fall in the shaded region. So 0, -2 works. So a quick note that I want to add on here. Never mind. There's an example on here. So 0, 4. Let's use red. Way off the shaded region, so no. 2, 1 lands on a dotted line, so no. It's on a dotted line. And then -4, +1, yes, falls in the shaded region. So if I were to point test this 2, 1 with the original inequality, 2x plus 4y less than 8. That's the original inequality. I'm going to point test this 2, 1. So 2 is the x, 1 is the y. Okay, 2 times 2 is 4. 4 times 1 is 4. 4 plus 4 is 8. This statement right here is false because there's no line underneath it. 8 is not strictly less than 8. It's equal to. Okay, and so that's why it's on a dotted line. It is not a solution. So just watch out for that. That is false, so not a solution. Okay, so the next thing you'll have to do is match a graph. So this is actually a STAAR question. It's kind of hard to read. So this inequality, it says -2x plus 7y is less than or equal to 112. And it says which graph represents this. And so that's why I did that review of solving it for y, because you have to solve this for y. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is get rid of the 2x by doing the opposite. And so my new inequality just has the +7y less than or equal to 112 plus the 2x. Now we're dividing by a 7. So do not flip the inequality because that 7 is positive. And so y is less than or equal to 112 divided by 7 is 16. And then 2 over 7 does not simplify. Okay, so in slope-intercept form, I have the +2/7x plus the 16. And so I am looking for a solid line shade below. That's going to help us narrow it down a lot. Okay, so get rid of A, get rid of D, because those are dotted. Okay, and then we can get rid of B because they shaded above. And so C is the only one that's solid and shaded below. And you can see the y-intercept is 16 and that slope is about 2/7. Okay, same drill here. Which graph represents x minus y is less than -6? First, we're going to move the x to the other side, leaving me with -y is less than -6 minus x. And so remember, there's an invisible 1 here. And so we have to divide by a -1. As soon as you see that you're dividing by a negative, flip. So we're dividing everything by that -1. So I've got a positive y, -6 divided by -1 is +6. -1 divided by -1 is +1x. And so in slope-intercept form, we would have that 1x first. You don't have to write the 1, followed by the +6. Okay, you would have, if you just looked at that without solving, you would be working with the wrong inequality. So don't look at that anymore. Okay, look at that. And so now I know I need a dotted line. And this is a greater than, and so above. Dotted and above. Well, they're all dotted, so that didn't help. But we can narrow it down to the aboves. So here in choice A, it's shading below the points. Not A, F. So F is out of the picture. Same with G. All the shading is below, so G doesn't work either. H, the shading is above, so he's still in the running. J is also shaded above, so he's still in the running. And so this one has a y-intercept of -6 instead of +6. And it has a slope of -1 instead of +1. So slope and y-intercept is important for this problem because this one has the y-intercept of 6 and a slope of 1. And that is it.